So we're going to talk about AEZS today. This has been the very hot runner the past couple of days, really up on absolute nonsense. I mean, they basically submitted a letter to the FDA, like this is not really legitimate scary news. But what it is it's a low float stock that has a heavy short interest and a lot of people chirping away on Twitter saying, oh, this is up on nonsense. And so that just adds more and more to the short bias, and you get a crowded short. And when the volume is as ridiculous as AEZS has been, I think there's something like 12 million shares outstanding right now, and we've traded 35 million shares today. We traded 60 million shares yesterday. I mean, this is float rotation at its best. Crazy things happen, especially when you've got short sellers tripping over themselves trying to get in. And I've been one of those short sellers. I took a small loss on it yesterday morning and then recognized the huge soak when 150 cracked and absorbed. So I just got the hell out of the way after that and really just had one afternoon small scalp on it that was a gain. And today I was very cautious on it out of the gate also because, again, like it was gapping up, the volume's out of this world. And I really didn't trust yesterday's 280 high to hold. So, in some cases I might try a short into previous day's resistance, but today I just sat back and watched. And I let it do its thing, and I didn't even touch it for the first time until after 10 a.m. And I decided to go after it, after this big hard crack from the 313 area down to 260. I was just waiting for a bounce. And so it started to rebound, and I was pretty good about being patient on my entries. I let it retest the VWAP area. I shorted 20,000 shares in the 285 area. And it did perk a little bit more than that, and then had further crack, and I think barely tapped below a day. And this was probably a little bit of a red flag here because, it's still up on the day by quite a bit. Lower day only cracks by a penny or two. You get a couple bigger volume candles in here. And then it bounced, which, I added some more short into this bounce, another 10,000 at about 269. And, so far it's pretty much according to plan, according to script. It could just be a lower high here and then fade off and it's dead. But what we saw here was a higher low hold, and then it ramped back up and set a higher high also. And this was probably red flag number 2, because again, we still have the volume going crazy, still float rotation, still a crowded short, and it's holding up decently. Now, this is day 2 of the move, and like you see on my video title, I did take a $9,000 loss on this. It did eventually ramp back up, really went crazy parabolic on this second VWAP break here, shot straight through 3, and I stopped out everything in the neighborhood of 305, I think, is where I about got out, maybe closer to 310. All I really know is that I lost about $9,000. So I guess, my feelings about this trade are that I don't really mind it too much. I followed my plan. I sized in appropriately for high a day risk. I played it a little bit bigger because it was day 2. And yeah, there's some red flags that could have warned me away from this trade, and I could have just stayed on the sidelines. But a lot of tickers aren't going to do this. We remember the stocks like AEZS, ETRM, IDXG, all the crazy multi-day runners. We remember them because they're so unusual, they're so special, and they're the ones that kept trapping and squeezing shorts again and again and again. And I don't want the 5 to 10 plays a year that are absolutely ridiculous headaches to scare me away from taking shorts on the other 100 plays in the year that really just go their day and a half of spiking and then are just completely toast after that. So I've always been willing to lose on stocks like this. I don't mind having to stop out and take a loss, especially if I keep my size under control. And in this case, I was built in for $10,000 risk. I lost 9,000. Like, that's nothing to be ashamed of. It sounds like a lot of money. I guess it is me playing it a little bit bigger. If I could do one thing differently, I guess since there were those couple of red flags there, I probably should have just sized myself in for normal $5,000 risk instead of saying, oh, I'm going to play this one a little bit larger. I got a little bit too greedy too soon. But the fact that I took a loss is not at all discouraging to me. The fact that I had to stop out, not at all discouraging. This thing, for all I care, it can continue and keep going higher. This is going to be an amazing opportunity eventually. And, maybe I'll take some small blows here and there on the way up. But I know once it is backside and once trend is really broken, I'm going to have a nice 2 or 3 day swing short. And I should more than make up for any losses I take on the way up. This is, in my mind, very similar to MGT last year, and I have a video on YouTube about that also. So anyone who hasn't seen my MGT video, please watch that, because that was one that chewed me up multiple times on the way up. I took probably 5 or 6 losses before I finally nailed it for a huge panic and then a nice bounce play. I shorted, and I think I made something like 60K on it in one day. So, I mean, AEZS, that it could very easily follow the same script, and I actually already have a bit of a reshort here in the afternoon just because it had that huge squeeze up into 330, and I mean the volume was unreal, huge stuff in the 330 area, and then it slapped right back to 290. So it was like it squeezed out all the shorts, and now reality kind of set in. So I shorted some into this bounce, kind of following my gut, thinking we might have a lower high here, and it's very possible I stop out on this one as well later, or if I don't like the action I'm seeing, I'll probably just take it all off for about scratch and be a little more conservative. But I mean, on the front side of moves, when these things are the big crazy squeezers, I mean, I don't like sitting back and waiting and getting in like $2 or $3 too late. Well, not in this example. This one's only at $3, but I don't like feeling really late on a play and feeling like I've got to use an incredibly wide risk level. So I don't mind trying to get the front side once we get to days 2, 3, 4, and beyond. I mean, eventually I'm going to have a very nicely paying short. I just have to be responsible with my size, and I've got to keep on stopping out like I plan to, where I plan to. So AEZS, like I said, only thing I think I did wrong was just deciding to play it a little bit bigger. But everything I did was according to my plan, and there's nothing to be ashamed about there. Sometimes setups just don't work, and you've got to take the loss, and you've got to protect yourself. So really excited for this one going forward. Can't wait to trade it in the coming days. And hopefully there's a nice big swing short waiting for me at the end of this rainbow.